You don't have to take the technical route. There's non-technical roles, and you can still be successful in it and enjoy what you're doing.
Welcome to the Cybrary Podcast.
Well, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
Welcome back.
Well, welcome back.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Ryan Corey, CEO and co-founder of Cybrary, and I'm excited for you to join us on today's episode. Let's jump in.
Hello and welcome to the Cybrary Podcast. Today we are speaking with Cindy Chan-Leonor and Will Carlson, the Director of Content for Cybrary. How are you all doing today?
Great, Thomas. You?
Doing pretty good. Cindy, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on the show today. We're going to talk a little bit about your journey and then your most recent job opportunity at Nasa Jpl. So very excited to kind of hear about that. But why don't you give us a little background on how you got started in cybersecurity?
Oh, absolutely. So I was actually a technical recruiter, and I was reaching out to people to fill in a cybersecurity engineer role. One of the women I spoke to, we had a great conversation, and she challenged me and she asked me, well, why aren't you in cybersecurity? Why don't you become the cybersecurity engineer? I'm like, well, I've never thought of that. I've always been intrigued with technology and science, have a love for it. And she invited me to a Women's in Tech event in Los Angeles. I attended that and was just really blown away by all the women that spoke up there. A lot of them were in leadership positions, been in it for a long time. They shared the challenges that they've endured, and I was really moved by it. I really was. And one of the things for myself, I thought, okay, well, I really want to do more than what I've been doing, as a technical recruiter. I love the challenge, and why not be the added number for women being in tech? Because there's not enough of us, right? Why don't I be the added number to represent? And that's how it started off. I started to look into cybersecurity, and I started looking into some classes, and I pretty much immediately joined. We formed a group I co-founded with the lady who I was trying to fill the role for. And we co-founded WCC's, Women's in Cybersecurity for SoCal. And then from there, through the city of Long Beach, I took some courses in cybersecurity. And then from there, I just landed a role as a project manager and a cybersecurity analyst in training for a small business. And we dealt with different small businesses in preparing and assessing their system. And then from there, that's how I landed my spot here at NASA Jpl as a cybersecurity engineer.
I wonder, Cindy, I know a lot of people have, particularly folks that are career transitioning. It's a big endeavor. It takes quite a bit of time, and then they juggle, how do I keep my current job while trying to get this new job? And that path can be both long and not direct. So I'm wondering, what did that look like for you, that particular piece of it, navigating both the time it took to get proficient and comfortable in the cybersecurity space, all the while, I'm sure, continuing to have to do life as that process was undergoing?
Right. Yeah. To balance life. I mean, for myself, I have a family. I've got 3 children, and having the support, I have to say, number one, having the support at home. My husband was very much supportive. My kids, were very much excited for me to get back, not just to get my career back, but just to, allowing me to strive for, to reach for the stars, to say, right. And then having the community, I have to say, being part of the WCC's and the community in general. We, at that time, pre-COVID, we were attending all sorts of live in-person events, and everyone I interacted with in the industry whether it be tech or cybersecurity, they were very much supportive. I did not, I encountered every single person who in some way or another, provided some guidance on how to, people did mention Cybrary, go look in Cybrary. They've got some awesome, materials and resources. And, from that to, taking courses or, getting certifications. And I have to say like I said, the biggest part was being on the board and co-founding WeSees for SoCal. And then from there, attending all the different cybersecurity and tech events, like I said, because I'm interacting with people. And then taking the courses. I did that at night, and those were in person, twice a week at night from 6 to 9. And, my kids were a little bit older. They're old enough to be independent enough to take care of themselves and what have you. So it worked out. I mean, timing wise for myself, it was good.
About how long from when you decided that you wanted to start that journey until you landed what you would call your first cybersecurity role did it take?
Oh, okay. So let's see. I interviewed that gal, gosh, I want to say it was like May or June. And that summer, I say a month or two, we formed WeSees. And then from there, I jumped in and started taking classes at the city college. And let's see, from there, not too long after, because then I landed the role as a project manager and a cybersecurity analyst in training for the small business. And then from there, that was 2020, COVID hit. And then the business started to dwindle down only because a lot of the small businesses start to retract their funding, right? I mean, where their spending is going. So for all of us, we actually had to then really, start applying, start looking for jobs. And I just threw it out there. I'm like, okay, well, let me see what happens here at Nasa Jpl. I didn't think anything of it, but it really didn't take long. I mean, I think it's just one of those things. What we're finding in our group, in our community, is that some people get scared, right? Like you hear the name Nasa Jpl. Oh, I'm not going to apply there. I mean, I had many people who didn't, and I tried to encourage them. I'm like, just apply. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? They could say no, right? So it's just a leap of faith. Everything for me so far since I stepped into this has honestly been a leap of faith. I mean, I took a leap of faith at going to the first women in tech event, right? And that was really the turning point for me. And every step of the way, for me, it's just braving it up and taking that leap of faith. And I think we as in our community in CyberDEI, we try to encourage people to do that because they hold back, and we get the imposter syndrome. All of us get imposter syndrome. They think like, oh, they're a CEO. They don't get that. No, they even get it, and we've had, speaking events where we've had C-suite people, executive people, and they share their imposter syndrome. So it's across the board, I think, so I'm proud to be part of the community CyberDEI and have also been part of WeSees because I love encouraging people. Like look where it landed me, I mean, I just kind of threw it out there. and things happen for a reason, right?
Yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to stick. And like, I always like when people talk about imposter syndrome because it's something most people I feel like once or twice or all day, every day, depending on who it is. But yeah, I mean, I also like that, you were a technical recruiter before, and then you started going back to school to learn about cybersecurity. Did that give you kind of a direction of what you wanted to learn? Like, was there certain things that you knew that's kind of what you wanted to focus on, knowing, the technical recruiter side, like what people are looking for? Did it give you kind of a roadmap of what you wanted to do, or, did you just kind of jump in and kind of start from scratch?
Are you referencing like where I wanted to be in cybersecurity?
Yeah, like where, what kind of like discipline you wanted to go into, like if you wanted to be more on like the engineering side or more on the compliance side or, those kind of things?
No, I honestly, I just went in not knowing,
Oh.
but
Hey, you got to jump in with both feet.
you got to
so.
jump in. Yeah. Jump in and swim and just
Yeah.
go for it. So I honestly didn't. And then for me, I don't have the technical background. Right. And in some roles, they expect you to have the technical skills, but that's where, for me, in anything that I do, I mean, just like jumping into cybersecurity, for me, I just dive deep in, like, okay, learn as much as I can, what I can, what I don't know, right? Even in the roles, different roles I've been in, even at JPL, you learn along the way. And that's where you have to take the time outside of work, just to build up those skills and knowledge.
Yeah. Now, kind of shift into your role at JPL. What is your role there? What do you do? What's kind of your day-to-day look like?
Okay. So my title there is a information technology security engineer. And pretty much what we are, we're a new team. We're the assessment and authorization team at JPL. And what NASA has required of JPL is to um, follow the standards of NASA, right? Because JPL has been doing things their way, but because I'm so sorry, I'm like
No problem.
my train of thought, but anyways, being on the team with ANA, the biggest thing is forming and building partnership with the engineers and the different projects. So for us, that's number one, because we got to build that trust.
Mhm.
And if we're not building that trust, they're not gonna want to work together with us or share information and details about their system, right? And one of the things, we've been working through this during COVID, so everything had to be virtual. We would always have WebEx meetings, and that's how we would say, okay, well, how are you implementing that? Can you show us? And that's how they would do it versus us physically being there. Um, we prepare their systems for security assessment, and those are assessed by the external auditors. So when the external auditors come in, they meet with the ANA team as well as the engineers for the project. They go through the system, all the controls that are uh, based on the NIST 853, and they review all the artifacts that we have put together with the engineers, like the configuration management to the risk assessment report, incident response, things like that. So they review all of those artifacts, making sure that department, right, that system, like the
Mhm.
Mars rover, is complying with what NASA is requiring.
That's great. I wonder, interesting to hear you talk about having an external team of auditors. I know
Mhm.
oftentimes in the security space, right, security professionals and whoever they're coming alongside, be that IT or networking or engineers, that can be a little bit of have a little bit of friction at times between those roles. I just wonder, for you, Cindy, in your experience, it would seem to me that having that external audit team come in would really allow you and your team to come alongside the engineers to help align to success for them in that audit and really partner with them. I wonder if you would say that was accurate, and kind of what that working dynamic between engineers that stereotypically can be sometimes hard to get along with, and a little opinionated. But I just wonder what that working dynamic was like, and did having that external audit team really help bring the engineers and your teams together?
Well, like I said, initially, is that building that trust and relationship with our engineers was number one, because if they didn't have the trust with us, with the ANA team, then for the external auditors to come in, that's even more of a challenge, right? So one of the things, as long as we had that relationship with the engineers at JPL, they were willing to then trust the external auditors, because we would work together with the engineers to answer any questions that they would ask. And we always reassure the JPL engineers, hey, we are here to help you. We're here to work together, right? And they're just checking the system, but we're here, we always emphasize that we're here together to work together and to support them. There's nothing against them. Because at first it's kind of like, oh, you're coming in to audit our system. Wait a minute. No, and at times we got oh, just send us all the information. We'll fill it out. But we're like, oh, no, that's not quite how it works. But, at times it depends, right? Depends on, like you said, the dynamic of the engineers. Some of them were very forthcoming with like, no, just send us all the information and we'll handle it from there. But we have to slowly, right, build that bond and relationship and that trust. So it's interesting. It's not like, okay, we can just come in, and say, okay, are you doing X, Y, Z? It's very much, you got to have those interpersonal skills. And I think that's one of the big things that's really important is people on our team. It's important for everyone to have that interpersonal skills to be able to work with the engineers.
Yeah, especially like you said, I mean, your team is a newer team, so you're coming into, people have probably been working together for years, and I'm sure there's probably multiple different engineering teams. So you're not just, it's not one team that you have to interface with, it's all of these teams and trying to do everything at once. So yeah, I mean, those interpersonal skills probably go a long way to building the trust with the different teams and make sure like we're not here to disrupt anything. We're just making sure that everyone's doing the same thing so that everything is running the same way across, the whole organization.
As a mentor here on Cybrary in my past, I know a lot of people tend to come to cybersecurity thinking of these really, really technical roles. And when they get into the space, they realize, oh, there are so many paths into this field and there are so many skill sets that are ultimately required. And then they realize that there's a whole set of cybersecurity that really is non-technical in the governance and risk and the policy side of things. So I just wonder, what was your path like into that policy part of it? And in your community, are there a lot of people that are aware of that when they kind of start their cybersecurity journey?
Okay, got it. No, I have to say, including myself, when I started thinking, gosh, oh, this is going to be so technical. I mean, some of the courses I took and did some labs and they're hands-on, and I mean, it was just so, going through the labs is very foreign to me, right? So, and having to have the technical skills and background isn't necessary. And that's one of the things that some people have told me, depending on which route you go, right? There are so many pathways. And in the sense where it's led me where I'm at with the last two roles, I didn't need the technical skills, but a lot of the things that, whether it be non-technical or technical, there's so many ways to train people up. And I think if companies or even the individual are willing to learn, right, you can really broaden that and expose yourself and being able to take on roles, whether it be more technical, if at your comfort, right? And if you're not a technical person, there's so many other opportunities that are non-technical. So at CyberDEI, that's something we do share with everyone, that people are in the concept of, oh gosh, okay, I want to get into cybersecurity, but gosh, I need to know all these technical stuff. But or even to land their first role, and we tell them that's not necessarily true. Yeah, you can self-taught or take some classes or certification or what have you, or it depends on your comfort, right? Depends on what your interests are, because it's so, and it's true. It wasn't until I jumped into it realizing like there's so many different pathways I can go with it. So it's great. I think people have to understand that you don't have to take the technical route. There's non-technical roles, and you can still be successful in it and enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, and you mentioned that that's kind of something that you try to focus on at CyberDEI. Can you explain a little about what CyberDEI is and what you guys do?
Yes, we support the community across the nation. We open up to everyone, women, men, everyone. Um, there are some who are career changers, and there are some people who have taken a break from their careers and have been intrigued with the idea of going into cybersecurity. So we have platforms, um, and we mentor people as far as, uh, maybe what courses they could take, um, to like certifications, whether it be schooling or certification. Um, we review resumes and prep them for interviews, um, provide, interview questions that might be helpful too. Um, I'm trying to think what else we do. We try to support our community in any way possible to support those who are trying to enter the field as well as retain them, because you've also heard, as many people who are going into cybersecurity or technology, there's also a lot who are leaving the fact because they had a bad experience, right? But that's another important topic too, is trying to retain people to stay in.
Yeah, I mean, retention's a big thing. I mean, there always seems to be a huge kind of barrier to get into cybersecurity, kind of like you and Will were talking about before. Everyone assumes that, oh, you have to be 100% technical. Every role is very technical. I need to know all of these things to get in. Just getting past that one barrier. But then, some people get in and just, might start in the wrong field. Like, you might go into a technical role and that's just not for you. And then, yeah, those are the people that are kind of leaving. I mean, I had a technical role at a previous company that I could do the job, but it just wasn't really suited for me. It wasn't for me. So yeah, I mean, I left that and ended up coming to Cybrary to do something different. But yeah, I mean, you see a lot of people just leaving because maybe they're just in the wrong role or just went down the wrong path, and didn't know that there's, all these other opportunities or all these other possibilities kind of within cybersecurity itself.
Right. And that's something at CyberDEI, we do definitely help the community as far as guiding them. If it's, we've had people reach out to us and ask us, oh, what do you think about this job? You think this is suited for me, especially with my background, things like that. And, we would let them know if it's very much a technical role and they don't have the technical experience or skills, then, it depends. Like, do they build up their skills on that? How do they build it up? And we show them and we tell them and provide resources so that if that's the route they want to go, we provide those resources to them.
Yeah, that's great. Sorry, Will.
Yeah, I know in my experience, Cindy, the importance of a community and a mentor group is really high when it comes to those things, right? So I find that the like we mentioned, the cybersecurity field is so broad. There are so many disciplines. You get in and you go to get started, and it can be really paralyzing as to know where to get started and how to really get in and break into that field. But having a group of mentors in a community really drives up the efficiency, I think, that people see, because they can ask questions. They can make sure they're on the right track. They can not spend a year heading down the wrong path to get really frustrated and disheartened in the effort that they put in, not getting them where they want to go. So hats off to CyberDEI and offering that to people, because I know for myself, it was, not the most direct route into cybersecurity. It took me quite a while to get there. And for, people career transitioning, that can be even more challenging to make that juggle. I wonder where in that process, how do people find that community and a mentor that may not have it? What was your experience with that? How did you find that group to help you in your journey?
Well, like I shared, for me, I happened to come across it only because I was filling in the cybersecurity engineer role. And the lady, like I said, the woman who's my friend now, my dear friend, but she's the one who challenged me. And then, just a simple question of, hey, well, why don't you become a cybersecurity engineer? And, that really, for me, intrigued me. I took a step back thinking, yeah, well, why don't I look into it? it's just one of those things. And then she opened the door with the invitation to that Women in Tech event. And for those who might be intrigued, whatever direction they want to get into, but for example, like cybersecurity, I think one thing they need to do is, and I've shared this with many people. I've actually inspired a lot of my fellow friends. They come from different backgrounds, but I've actually inspired them, and I've told them, go on meetup.com and Google different events like cybersecurity events and join it. I mean, right now it's virtual, but join the different webinars and join the different organizations, sit in and ask questions. I mean, for me, I think you just have to really dive into that community and network with people, and speaking to them, asking them questions about their experience and their journey. And then once you find that fit, that person, right, or those group of people who can mentor you, it really helps. Then you have your support system to get you through anything, to get you through the process, to break through the barrier, to get that first job, right? To support you through any challenges you might have. Like, we have people thinking about, oh gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I just want to leave this industry. But, we're there together, right? Telling them, oh no, especially women, we're trying to get more women to get in and stay in, not to leave, right? So having that, I think just finding that support system is so important. So I always start off, I told my friends, I'm like, go on meetup.com, just find your group. And I've suggested, if they want to get into cybersecurity, suggested Women's in Cybersecurity, and there's Cyber Jiu-Jitsu. There's so many different organizations out there that they just need to expose themselves and see and meet people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the networking is a huge part of it. And I mean, all those organizations that you mentioned are great. If somebody wanted more info on CyberDEI, do you guys have a website or Twitter or something they'd be able to follow if they wanted to get more information or reach out to you?
Yes, we do. We do have a website.
Is it CyberDEI or DEI.com?
You know what? Let me look it up. Sorry. I want to say it's
.org.
I want to say it's .org.
Okay.
Yeah, cyberdei.org. Okay. And then when they join, and we have a Slack channel, a really active Slack channel, it's fantastic. You've got different things from like people posting pictures about their pets. We do fun stuff like that, to job posting, resume review, interview preps, a lot of good resources, different community events. So it's a really great place to be involved in, and not just with CyberDEI. WeSees was very much like that too. I mean, that's how we ran it for the SoCal region. Mm-hmm. So I think for us, we got really good response from the community about our Slack channel and the events that we did put together. Because at the time when we were doing in person, we tried to do things twice a month. So we did something that was where it was a panel of speakers. And then we would do another event that was more like, we actually had like a interview prep to resume review. And we had so many people come out. And it was just, I love it because it's just so rewarding to help people out like that. And you need that, right? I mean, otherwise you're so lost. You could get so lost in like you said, well, you dive in and you're like, okay, which direction do I go? I mean, that's how I felt when I first started. I'm like, I don't know which direction to go. And, and if I shared with somebody, they asked me the right questions. Do you have the technical background? What are your interests, this and that. So they help, they mentor me and help lead the way to where I'm at now. And then even where I'm at now, I still think like, wow, where else can I what else can I dabble in, right? Because it's to me it's just exciting. I'm like, oh, what other exciting areas can I look into? So it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of exciting, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you like what it was like working at NASA JPL when during like the Mars rover landing or the new the new Mars landing.
Yeah,
I just like
that's
totally spaced on the name of it.
that's okay. Mars rover. So the
Yeah.
Mars rover landing. Yeah. So we our team did assess the Mars rover prior to taken off of Earth and
Yeah.
going on to Mars. So we did do that part of the assessment. So that was exciting because we got to work with the engineers and learning about the Mars rover and understanding it. It was great. It was a great process, and then being keeping track of like where it's at, how many days to it landing. I mean, those were very exciting moments and memories that we have. I mean, how often can people say, "Oh, I didn't get to," unfortunately, because of COVID, we had to work from home, right? But they said if it wasn't COVID, we would be in person. We would have seen it firsthand in front of us. So I really wish we were able to do that, and they would have like, I don't know, all sorts of fantastic events.
Somebody coming into cybersecurity from an IT and a networking field, it was uncertain at first. So to jump in and then really see such a welcoming group of folks overall was no other career that I've had in my life had the same feeling to it. I think to your point, Cindy, that it really is just ultimately a really welcoming group of people overall. And I always tend to chalk that up to a shared struggle, maybe, or a shared commitment to securing things better, that it's all of our information. I mean, the Mars rover was us up there, right? I mean, that's shared outcomes. And I think, just the sense of camaraderie in the group is unlike any that I've seen anywhere else in any other field that I've been in.
And I have to say, I agree with you. I mean, you're not the first person who's said that. There's people who did the transition like yourself, and they say the exact same thing that you have said. And for me, that's another thing that has intrigued me to stick with this with cybersecurity, and it's been nothing but a great experience, I have to say. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, yeah, I mean, on that note, I mean, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today, Cindy. It was great kind of hearing your journey and the work that you're doing. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate meeting both of you and speaking to you.
Yeah.
You as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you.